You received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up.
Well, hello, Brandon. Yep, same o, out to fight the fight. Yeah, I know. You shouldn't. It shouldn't be too much longer. I think you'll be out by the end of the month, huh? Yeah, and a lot has changed since you've been in there. You've been in there for quite a while, so transition real easy, and hopefully you've been talking to people and getting everything set up. Oh yeah, I know. I can imagine. A year actually is not too early to start planning for something like this, and looks like you did all your legwork. I do have a couple of people that I'd like you to meet when you do get out, and they've been in the same boat as you, so they can relate to your circumstances a whole lot better than I can. But I'll be there for you. They'll definitely be there for you. Of course, your family's there. And then the friends that you have, and then you'll be making some new friends. So get blended into the community as soon as you can. And don't be too shocked about people asking questions. A lot of them are just curious. They don't mean any harm. And we do have people out here, though, that feel that for some reason you're staying on society and you don't deserve to live amongst us. But with the support group that you have, you'll be able to get through it. And there are people who are interested in just starting a whole new support group, maybe more related to some of the challenges that you'll be facing. So I'm excited. I really, I'm really glad that this ordeal is finally coming to an end. And of course, the big thing is, just like American Quitting Society, quit for good. There is no reason to get back in there. Well, yeah, they do say that police officers are coming after people, and there's people being arrested, and there's a lot of complaints about the U.S. government scooping people up, not giving them due process. And I've run into an incident like that on my own, where I don't want somebody to get out of prison and then get deported. But this is a new process. There's a lot to be done, and there's still a lot to be learned. People make mistakes. That's how they grow, and that's how they improve. And that's something I expect especially when a process just starts up. I expect there to be a lot of mistakes, and that's something that you shouldn't condemn yourself for, and you certainly shouldn't allow other people to condemn you when you get out and you make mistakes, something that you didn't quite understand or something changed and you were just doing it the old way. I know one of the girls that got out of prison, she was giving me directions on how to get someplace, and they had blocked off roads and changed routes around. So when she was giving me the directions, she felt bad because she would say, turn left up here, and it was a dead end because a cinder block or something had been put there, and she didn't remember anything like that from before. And of course, I didn't hold that against her. And then there's stores that close and stores that open, technology that changes. And so it's a process. And the government's going through it. Neighbors are going through it, family, professionals, a lot of the community centers are still learning some stuff. And
You have 60 seconds
there's a
remaining.
lot of changes going on. And so I just want to make sure that you're not caught up in all of that. And that's good. Keep up to date on the news. And I'm glad you're able to do that. And I would say spend a lot of time with the family because, yeah, you're out of prison. Yeah, if you fly straight, you shouldn't be going back. But, death is knocking at the door. Oh, no, I don't expect you to overdose.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
But somebody could misunderstand something and murder you, could be hit by a truck, could fall off a cliff. I mean, something that's in life. So treat every day like it's the last day, and that it's a special day, and you'll really appreciate life. Okay, well, good. Thanks for calling, and good luck. Okay, definitely.
Thank you.
Oh, hello. My name is Joel Wilborn, and this is AQS Inmate Call. And before I get into my subject this week, I would like to give a shout out to a website. It's called Million Podcast, and you can find it at millionpodcast.com. That website ranked AQS Inmate Call as one of the top 40 prison podcasts. That means a lot for me. And if you're the audience that likes prison podcasts like these, I would highly recommend going to that site because they'll list some of the top ones. Like I was listed in the top 40, and I was also listed in the top 45 mass incarceration podcasts and the top 10 death row podcasts. So if you're looking for similar content, this is a great website to check out. Plus, they reached out to me and gave me that high honor. So it's nice to know that people are listening. And even if I don't hear directly back from people, it's nice to know that the word is getting out. And that's what this website does. That's what this podcast does. And there's others that are very similar to that, especially on social media. Now, to bring up this week's subject. On this telephone call, I was talking about somebody getting out. Now, this is related to an incident, and I'm just going to name names on this one. I'm going to give you, because she's about to get out. She's going through the final stages, and I'm getting everything prepared on my end. I haven't met her before, talked to her on the phone, did some letters and emails, and she was recommended to me by a mutual friend. And she has a past, and she's been in there for like 10 years. The way she said it, she was in there her entire 20s. And 10 years, if you've never been locked up, 10 years can fly by pretty quick. Life is short, let's face it. 10, 20, 30. The older you get, the time gaps don't matter as much. If you're 9 years old and 10 years passes, you're a teenager, almost out of your teenage years, and you're getting out of college. I mean, not college, but you're getting out of high school and going into college. But when you're 20, you're just getting out of your teens. Terrible tragedy happened in your life, and then you're in there for 10 years. And when you come out, just think about the changes. Now, I've worked with people that got out after a decade, and gas pumps, cell phones, internet, television, all of these things can change drastically in 10 years. And so it's a shock to come out of prison and see all of that. And I've been trying to give her a heads up on a few things. I know some of the people, they would ask me questions like, where can I get a computer? What type are out there? What's the speeds? And I would give them answers, and it would just be confusing to them. So some people I have to spend a little more time with than others. And then there's those that just want to get out and have a good meal at a restaurant, or just go for a walk, or sit on the beach. And I respect that. I like it when they get out, because to me, that's the time to celebrate. Don't celebrate them going in, celebrate them coming out, and then make it a holiday. You know, if the person gets out on, let's say, the 15th of the month, then quite possibly every year, 15th of that month, you celebrate the release date or Freedom Day, or maybe that person's name, if the person's name is Jane Doe Day. Just let them know that we appreciate you being out. And it doesn't put a lot of pressure on them, because they're happy for this milestone as well. And the fact that they reach it, after 2, 3, 4 years of being out, means that they got a little something that they didn't have before. Something helped them, that led them down the proper path and kept them there, especially when you want to try to help them help others. And that's the case with this lady who's getting out. Her name is Alicia Gomez, and she's a convicted murderer. She's coming out. She wants to get into college. She wants to get her life back in order so that she can give back to society. She regrets what she did, but she doesn't deny it. She knows she committed a crime. She knows she's been locked up. So that's not the issue. The thing is, she served her time, and it's time to put that behind her. It's time to move ahead. And her telling the story of what happened to her, I've reminded her of that. I said, this is going to be tough for you, but she's willing to share it. Of course, she's not going to walk around, with a T-shirt that reads the details, or put a banner on her car. But if the subject comes up, she's not going to hide or run away from it. people deserve to know the truth. She's going to expect honesty from other people, and she's going to have to give honesty herself. So when I started talking to her, I met another person who had been to prison and who had some terrible stories to tell. And she was telling me that she wanted to do some things too. Now, she was in prison with a friend of mine, and this girl introduced me. And when she got out, we connected, and I was able to ask her what she wanted to do. And she was saying that she wants to help people who are in prison and out too. And so I thought, I'm going to take advantage of this. I love it when the people come to me, especially when I'm blocked from talking to folks. These people can get messages through for me. And her name is Alyssa Accord. Now, Alyssa had a lot of things to fight. She had a tough life, tough upbringing, a lot of trauma, but she's a fighter. She's a tough woman. And I admired that in her. And we would go to lunch. I'd take her out to lunch and we would talk. And I enjoyed talking to her because not all of her opinions matched mine. And we would get into some nice debates here and there. And there's things that she just believed that she wasn't going to change on. And my goal wasn't to change her beliefs or her ideas, but rather to learn from her and to tap into them and maybe challenge just how strong do you believe in this? And we would have some good discussions and we would learn from each other. And it was fun. I really enjoyed talking to her. She would call me, we'd do video calls. And when she'd run into a problem, she would talk to me just to get it off her chest. She had a incident where her car broke down. And so she was sleeping on the side of the road with her dogs, and the Washington State Patrol arrested her and confiscated her dogs. And then she wasn't able to get them back. And she put all on Facebook. She just did not like the way she was being treated. And it was something that we could fight. And so one day she calls me, and she went from Spokane to Olympia, Washington, and she was able to get a really nice job, which is fantastic. She was really having a hard time getting a place to live and keep a stable job. And so she was getting her life back in order. She was able to get her dogs back, and then she lost them because she was transitioning between homes. So she was having this really tough time. But Alyssa was talking to Alicia, and they were doing stuff on Securus, on e-messaging. And Alyssa actually drove out to visit Alicia in prison. And Alicia would get upset sometimes because she would just show up without giving any heads up. But Alyssa was just excited. She wanted to help. She was really into it. And then I get a message from Alicia saying, "Is it true? Did Alyssa commit suicide?" And I hadn't heard from Alyssa in a while because she's a hard worker. I did send her a message because Alicia was saying, "I haven't heard from her. Where is she?" And I sent the message. I said, "Alicia's concerned." And she finally picked up the phone, was able to talk to Alicia, and that helped made Alicia feel a little bit better. But then just a couple of days later, I get this message. Alyssa's not one to commit suicide. So that was the last thing. I said, no, there's a misunderstanding. At best, she must have been killed or she had an accident. I didn't really hear of her talking about any chronic illnesses or anything that was a major health problem for her. And she's just in her early 50s. So as I was doing some research, and it wasn't hard because I typed her name into the search bar, and it first hit was that Alyssa Accord was hit by a drunk driver. And that explained everything. And she was hit at 1 a.m. walking down the street, and she was having some car problems. And she told me she got this really great job, and I imagine she was working grave shift. So she was probably walking home from work when a drunk driver struck and killed her. Now, that was devastating because I was just getting to know this person. She was being very helpful for my cause. We shared a lot, had a lot in common. Alicia is about to get out, and I wanted them to meet. I was hoping that we could all have dinner together, go out to clubbing or something. And Alicia could help her get back into society. In an instant, that's gone. And it just goes to show what type of world I'm working in here. I know I would have to pass information like that on to incarcerated people because there's a lot of people who die of overdoses, murder, or suicide. And it's not easy sharing that, but their lives are so traumatic that death is something that is just, it's not uncommon like a lot of us, or I'm sure a lot of you listeners probably have a few family members that die. Maybe you have a friend or two every 2 or 3 years that die, but not something that's like every other month or 4 or 5 a year. And so it this one really hit me because I'm the one that doesn't have a lot of death in my life. And this is a person that I had just talked to because I told her that Alicia was trying to get in contact with her and she hadn't heard from her in a while and she was concerned. Well, I can see her concern now. For me, I don't really worry about my friends. And usually when you watch those crime shows on TV or you listen to a podcast, people will say that you saw that your friend was missing for 3 days, hadn't heard from him in 3 days. Didn't you find that unusual? And a lot of folks will say, no, it's very common for this person just to disappear for a little while. And when you're in a rough situation, it's nice just to kind of lock yourself in a room and listen to some music, watch some movies, maybe just social media. And I can understand that completely because I like to do that to clear my mind. And so for somebody to disappear for a little while, for me, I don't immediately assume that the person is dead. But for Alicia, she was a little concerned. So her concern was right. So I took a copy of the article and I was able to get it to her. And she was saying, so how do you feel? And I was just, for me, it was just shock because by the time I'm doing this podcast, she hasn't been gone for a week. And I just want you to know that's what type of life these folks who are locked up go through. They're a small clique. They really have to rely on each other for a lot. And if you watch TV, movies, read books, and you hear about groups that get together and support each other, they're kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, or even scouting or competition teams like people who play pool or a book club, a way for people just to get together. It's nice for them to share ideas, to lean on each other, to help each other out, to vent to each other. It helps them stay sane. Imagine not having that. And so when you come out of prison and there's nothing there, you grasp what you can. And if we really shun these folks, they may fall and never recover. Just recently, one of my friends, her brother was arrested for murder and kidnapping, and she had to take some time out to deal with that. And if you watch these shows and you're familiar with these stories, don't you want to reach out? Don't you think, there's something I could have done? And when you go to these pen pal sites, you can find some people who genuinely want just to talk. And they're curious, what's going on out there? What do you like to do for fun? What type of books do you like? Simple conversations. And you can just go onto the e-messaging, send a little message. Doesn't really cost that much. And hopefully soon these things will be free if some of these states get their act together and stop making people pay to communicate with folks that's in prison. I think that's ridiculous. But once we get to the point where phone calls are free, messages is free, letters are pretty much free, then we can reach out to these folks a little more often. Send them a card. If it's a holiday, happy Easter, Merry Christmas. And if you know their birthday, happy birthday, or just thinking of you. And we don't send a lot of cards or postcards out. These are nice and they do mean a lot and they can make a big difference. And so life is short. You don't know when the person that you're sitting next to is going to go. You don't even know when you're going to go, but it's going to happen. And I'm not going to say get all your death plans in order and sell your items and just kind of wait for it. Live your life. And if you do wake up the next day, be thankful for that. But if you don't, at least you were ready. Just kind of take a little moment to think this could be it. Especially when you sit down on your bed. I may not wake up. How was this day? Is there something you're proud of? If there's something that you missed and you wake up the next day, go for it. But an important part is connecting. Something you say to a young person behind bars could change them. It could improve their life forever. And they're just like everybody else. They have their ups and their downs, but they made a mistake and they're paying a very dear price for it. And a lot of them should, but it shouldn't be torture. And if all they needed was somebody to say, I'm here for you, why can't it be you? So hopefully you can go to my webpage, American Quitting Society on Facebook, AQS, and you could look up some of the people that are looking for pen pals. Maybe you can go to my YouTube channel and I have a few videos from the people, a lot of it in their own words, just saying, hey, this is my name. This is what I'm interested in. Just spending a little bit of time talking to them on the phone, you could reduce crime considerably. One person doesn't take a lot. So I'm going to do what I can to honor Alyssa. And I do miss her. And I really admire what she was doing. She was making something of her life. Maybe once this person is convicted and sentenced, and that's what they're definitely pursuing, and I don't see why anybody would oppose that, but he could get free. But if he gets convicted, maybe I'll reach out to him. And if he was driving drunk, I don't think he meant to kill her, but there's a possibility something depressed him to the point where he did drink and wasn't thinking about how to get home. So that's a little bit of my world. I want to reduce crime by working with the people who are potential criminals. I would suggest keeping an eye out for your friends when they go out drinking. I would suggest checking in on people, because if there's somebody sitting on a bed with a gun, just thinking, I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to, because that's one thing, people commit suicide, they're a little hesitant before they actually commit it or actually follow through. Maybe that phone will ring. Of course, that's no guarantee, because the only person who can prevent a suicide is the one who's thinking of committing it. But maybe you can call and say, hey, how's everything going? And the person just might break down and talk. And you might be able to call some people to go over and help this person. And we got suicide hotlines now. They're even in the state of Washington working on hotlines for trans people. If they felt that they're discriminated against, they could call. That's great. We need more of that. And that's so simple, so easy to do. Just all work together. Instead of finding ways to fight each other, finding differences, let's find things that we share. Let's find common ailments. I like to learn from my elders, because they went through a lot of nonsense and hardship in their life. They teach it to me. This is what I went through. This is how I got out of it. This is what I think you can do to prevent it. And I take that advice and I give that advice. And you can do that too. It is not difficult. And a person's past shouldn't define their future. Hopefully, when you find out somebody's an ex-con, you won't use it against them. That's my advice. We can make this work. We just need to work as a team. Well, thanks for tuning in. And hopefully you have yourself a magnificent day and you'll go out and make wonderful memories for tomorrow.